Hi, this is Richard Murray with another session of Parking Lot Theology. I want to talk to you today about a word. It's a very important word. You don't hear it a lot, but it is so just spot on in revealing to us something that we really need to know. And that word is this: differentiation, or in its opposite usage, undifferentiated. If something is differentiated, it means you basically are able to divide it, to move it apart, to understand this end from that end, this concept from that concept. When something is undifferentiated, it means it's still kind of together in a stew, and you can't really separate the concepts out. You're still confusing it all as one glop. And actually, you hear the word differentiation a lot in evolution terms, whether we're talking about microevolution or macroevolution or whatever, any kind of evolutionary process. There's always the concept of as the thing evolves, as anything evolves, it becomes more and more differentiated. Concepts, ideas, notions, and you refine it. You refine the ideas. They coalesce in your understanding, and you're able to implement them and understand them in a functional way and in an accurate way. So when we apply that to God, and we apply the term differentiation to God, what are we talking about? Well, here is where the key to this whole thing is. In the Old Testament, there was an undifferentiated view of God. They saw God basically as one glop of good and evil. To them, God was good and God was evil. God was love, God was wrath. God was forgiveness, but God was judgment. And to know God by the tree of good and evil is to know God as both good and evil, that both good and evil came from his hand. And in fact, there are verses in the Old Testament in Amos and Isaiah and elsewhere that would point that God is the author of evil. Well, the New Testament comes along, and Jesus never said that. Jesus said that that's how you tell the difference between his Abba and the thief, Satan, is that Satan steals, kills, and destroys, but his Abba comes and he gives life. And of course, James, in that wonderful passage in James 1, says, let no man say when evil comes and pressures him or tempts him or tries to destroy him, that he is being tempted by God. And then he goes on to say that God, the Father, is the Father of lights, in whom there is no shadow of variableness of turning. Here's the point. The New Testament comes along and differentiates Satan from God. In the Old Testament, Satan was seen as a servant angel of God. He was God's angry voice, his minister of wrath, so to speak, his left hand of judgment. So that you see a duality in God's nature in the Old Testament, an undifferentiated duality. Whereas in the New Testament, Jesus comes and he pulls apart the image of God. He pulls apart the image of God and removes the satanic elements from the image of God, so that we don't see God as hostile, as coercive, as violent, as cruel, as destructive. Those simply aren't divine attributes. Just as it's impossible for God to lie, it says in the New Testament, it's all other attributes are impossible for God. It's impossible for God to be petty. It's impossible for God to be cruel or hostile or wicked or coercive. It's impossible for those attributes to be in the divine nature. And praise God, Jesus came and said, I am the divine nature, and I'm here to tell you that in my Abba there is no darkness, there is no evil, there is no pettiness, there is no betrayal. And Jesus came to reveal to us the image of God. He came to differentiate the image of God. And if we can just get that notion that whatever distortions there are in the Old Testament on the literal level, now I believe on the allegorical level the Old Testament is full of treasure, but occasionally on the literal level it misstates things. And it's not that the authors are so much wrong, it's that they have developmental limitations, because they had yet to differentiate the image of God between God and Satan in their own minds. But Jesus comes in the New and differentiates the two, so that we can now know what is of God and what is of the devil. All right, and whatever is beautiful and true and virtuous and noble and healing and restorative is of God, and anything that's destructive and cruel and violent and mean is of the devil. And it's really that simple. And it's not like Jesus didn't say this. He clearly said this. When he said that Satan is a murderer from the beginning in John 8:44, and he's the father of all lies, and that when we lust, when we sin, we commit the lusts of the devil. All right, and that's and we can talk about the devil another time and his ontology and all that. But for today, I just wanted to focus on the concept of differentiation. Try to get that term in your vocabulary because it explains so much. Just as our children, you know, and I've used this example before, but you know, when they first start seeing a man, they'll call every man Dada because they haven't learned to differentiate between different men. They'll call their father Dada, they'll call their neighbor Dada, they'll call any male Dada. But then, as differentiation comes and they grow, they then are able to call men by different names. So in the Old Testament, we see that they were functionally calling Satan and Yahweh both Dada. But in the New Testament, Jesus says, my Abba is not Dada. All right, he has no of those Dada elements in him. He's only got elements of light and love. So anyhow, that's it. Differentiation. Thanks.